Good evening and welcome to Orono's Candidate tonight. My name is Dave Chase and I'll be serving as the volunteer moderator for tonight's event. Along with the panelists, I'm participating live on Zoom and on the live stream on Facebook. Tonight, we have the opportunity to question the candidates running for three-year term seats on the Orono Town Council. Just by way of information, we typically would do the RSU Board of Directors separately, but because they are running two candidates running unopposed for two seats, we won't be doing the Board of Directors this evening, and strictly for the Town Council. So here's the format that we'll be using for this session. I'm going to be using a timer used for the candidates to give opening statements as well as their response to questions. Each candidate's going to have the opportunity to give a 2-minute opening statement. And the order of the candidates has been chosen by random draw. After the opening statements are complete, then I will open the question and answer segment. I've got a few questions to start off myself. But during the segment, you can also, there's an opportunity for you to raise your hand and ask a question. And there may be an option, I don't think there is, but maybe there's an option if you see one to give a Q&A on there. Feel free to do that. And so, yeah, we would encourage you to do that so that we can get your questions answered by the candidates. Realize that people have strong positions on many issues, but make sure that when you're asking your questions of the candidates, to limit it to the actual questions rather than statements or positions that you might have on a particular, as a non-candidate, on any particular issues. The questions can be directed towards any particular candidate or the candidates at large. However, each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to any question that's asked. As always, I should go without saying, but we'll say it anyway, that we would expect a civil and respectful session with no personal attacks or campaigning for specific candidates or for specific issues. And we'd ask that there be no expressions of approval or disapproval to any candidate or any question or any response. And thank you all for taking the time to participate tonight. We're glad you're here. We look forward to learning more about the candidates and their positions. So let's begin. Pete, if you could, you've already moved the candidates to the screen, so hopefully everybody can see everybody. And while this will depend on how many questions we have from the public, we'll plan to wrap up no later than 7 o'clock. So just as a reminder to everybody out there, there are 3 seats open on the town council, and we have 4 candidates running for these three-year terms. The order of the candidates tonight, chosen by random, is we'll start off first with Jacob Baker, second with Robert Laraway, third with Matthew Powers, and fourth with Scott Thomas. And as we go along, I will be rotating the questions so no one's stuck going first or last on every time for each response. And and just as a reminder now, we'll start with the opening statements that are up to, they don't have to be, but up to 2 minutes in length. And we'll start with you, Jacob, if you would.
Great, thank you. So for those that don't know me, my name is Jacob Baker, and I have been in Orono for about 15 years now. And one of the reasons I stayed here when I finished grad school, outside of my wife, is that I love Orono. It's people, it's walkability, it's college town feel. We have a lot of great public amenities. And I'm running for town council because I believe in public service. I currently serve on boards and committees for Habitat for Humanity, Penobscot Theater, and the Boy Scouts. I also volunteer through Junior Achievement at Asa Adams. And while I truly enjoy these great organizations, I've wanted to do something that directly benefits this place that I call home. So for my day job, I'm a commercial lender at Bangor Savings. And one of the things I appreciate about this job is I get to work with businesses and organizations across the spectrum of all different sizes. And through these interactions, I get to see what they need, what they're struggling with, and what they want from the communities that they do business with. Prior to coming to Maine, I was a committee aide in the state legislature in Massachusetts and a couple years as a staffer for a Boston City Council. These roles, in addition to my graduate degrees in public admin and business admin, gave me an experience in how government works. I saw the importance of local government. It's really local government that impacts us the most on a day-to-day basis. I consider myself really a moderate voice who listens and asks questions. I believe that everybody should have a say in the process. I can't always promise that I'll agree with every view, but I promise to make sure that everybody's heard, from the new faculty member that just moved to town to the resident that's been here for generations. It's only through collaborative decision making that we can move forward as a town and as a community and face some of the challenges that we will experience in the next several years. So thank you, and I appreciate hearing from you.
Great, thank you, Jacob. Next up, we'll hear from Robert.
Thanks, David. I'm Rob Laraway. I've been in Orono for close to 13 years. Started here as a student at the University of Maine. And yeah, I'm very proud to call Orono my home. It's the longest I've lived anywhere. And I'm grateful for the opportunities and the life it's provided me so far while I've been here. I've been on council now for 2 years, so I'm running for re-election. But in addition to working on municipal issues, I did spend a few years working for Maine People's Alliance, doing progressive activism. Although one of the things I love about the work I've been able to do on council so far is that it's been nonpartisan. Although I do hold the views that I do, I think we've been able to have really productive, interesting, and collaborative discussions sort of across the political spectrum so far in the work that we've been doing. I no longer do activism and advocacy at the state level as my job. I'm actually a musician and an educator, mostly teaching private voice lessons, but also working for the Penobscot Theater, directing musicals. I direct music for a few churches. So I was sort of cobbling together a living, teaching and playing. And I've been really grateful to still get to exercise my conscience, helping out, making decisions, being thoughtful, and trying to make sure that everybody feels like they have a voice. I really appreciate some of the things that Jacob was just saying. Since being on council, one of the biggest priorities has been trying to make sure that people around town feel like they do have a voice in the process. Make sure that people feel included and feel like when they have ideas they want to bring to the municipal government, that they can be responded to and taken seriously and hopefully supported. That one of the things that we've been able to do on council more recently was set up a mini grant program, although I didn't spearhead that one. We've had a program so that we can fund in small amounts programs that people want to do around town. But I've also helped bring about the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. That was one of the things I ran on last time. And I suppose I'll keep trying to make sure people feel included. I'm seeing that I think my time is about up, so look forward to chatting more as we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Next, we'll hear from Matt.
Hi, my name is Matthew Powers, and I just want to thank Jacob, Rob, and Scott for being willing to serve on town council. I know it takes a lot of effort and time. So I live on Main Street in the big blue gray house. It's the one where the garden is slowly starting to take over the lawn. I'm not responsible for the garden. That would be my wife, Annie. We have lived in Orono for 10 years and we absolutely love it. I have 3 children, ages 15, 11, and 9, and I bring a family-oriented view to the town council. I was raised in El Paso, Texas. I got my graduate degree at the University of Utah, receiving a PhD in molecular cell biology when I was studying breast cancer. Now, I am a part-time teacher at the collegiate level, and I'm also heavily involved in writing and publishing. I'm the editor of the science division of Catalyst Book Press. So I've served on the council since last summer when I won a special election due to an open seat when a councilor resigned. And I'm now very excited to continue as we search for the next amazing town manager. I think the role of the town council right now is to be particularly transparent and to be very good at communicating where we are and what we're doing. And it's very important, as the other two, as Rob and Jacob have said, to listen to the citizens. And I also find it's really important at this time for us to be listening to the staff at the town. And I think this is all very applicable to the council's guiding principles at this time, which is your voice matters. So I want to bolster the Parks and Rec and support our pool and our library, because those are institutions that are very important to us families here in town, and it makes our quality of life go way up. I am also passionate about making Orono more walkable and bikeable. And having a great mix of businesses to walk to and to bike. And yeah, I want to bring our residents' ideas to life also, and make engagement in the town easy for our citizens, and to continue to steward our resources. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And we'll now hear from Scott. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, I'm just very grateful that I didn't have to follow Rob with that beautiful deep voice. I'm Scott Thomas, and I'm hoping that I can serve the community on a 3-year term for council. I want to thank you, Dave, for hosting this. I want to wish the other candidates good luck, and I want to thank the present council for having great vision, transparency, community involvement, and an inclusive tone. I bring historical knowledge and a lifelong commitment to Orono. Going back to the 1800s, my great-grandparents, grandparents, and father lived on Pond Street. And in 1940, my grandfather started a insurance business in a back office in his home. In 53, my father came home from the Korean War in the Navy, and my father and mother purchased a house on Hill Street. And they both graduated from Husson University, Husson College at the time. My father joined his father in the insurance business. In 1955, my father and grandfather moved the insurance agency to 19 Main Street, which is where the UCU building is now, in what we used to call Monument Square. It was called Monument Square because the Civil War monument that's now in the cemetery, and between Monument Square and the cemetery, it was at the Webster Park, if you remember. In 1970, there were 2 village doctors in Orono, Dr. Sewell on Park Street and Dr. Asa Adams on Main Street, where Michael Griffin's office is now. My parents bought Dr. Adams' house when he retired and moved to Forest Avenue for $40,000, and my parents moved their office to that building as well. In 71, I graduated from Orono High School. I was on the 1968 football state championship team, and I played basketball. I received a Bachelor of Science degree from University of Maine and served on the Orono Volunteer Rescue Squad so that I could have a placard on my license plate that allowed me to park right outside the door of all my classes so I could respond to emergencies. It was great. I married a Orono High School classmate, had 2 sons, and in 1977, I built a house on Island Avenue for $36,000 with a 17% interest rate. And my father told me I was crazy. In 86, I moved to College Heights, purchased my grandmother's brother's house, and lived there for about 15 years. My son Matthew was an EMT on Orono Volunteer Rescue Squad. I think he was the youngest ever at age 16. In 79, I worked in Bangor for 10 years as an insurance adjuster for a commercial union insurance company. In 89, my father passed, and I returned to Thomas Insurance as the owner until 2013 when I sold it to Cross Agency and semi-retired. In the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, I was on the school committee and town council, served on the budget committee as the chair. While on the school board, I initiated the Orono Creative Playground, which was a community effort. Some may remember that. We raised all of the money. The entire town worked assembling the playground over a week or week and a half, and it's no longer in existence because unfortunately it was made out of pressure treated wood. I think that was probably one of the most unifying community efforts in the history of Orono. And 23 years ago, I built a house on Stillwater Avenue where I reside with my wife. That's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So I'll remind everybody as we go into the question sessions, you're only gonna have a minute. And so, don't make me reach out there and grab somebody and shut them down. Sometimes, as I had mentioned earlier, before we get started, a minute seems like forever, and sometimes it seems like a minute just isn't enough to answer. But ask that you do your best in sticking to the time so that we can get as many responses to different questions that we can. So I'm going to start. So we're going to start with Rob, and the first question that we would have would be, and everybody will get to answer the same question. But first we'll have Rob respond to, do you have any specific issues or priorities for the town council if you're elected?
Thanks. Well, one of the, there's two large priorities sort of looming right now, which I think most people are aware of. One, we are in the process of selecting a new town manager. That's taking up a lot of the time of the current council, and I'd like to continue helping make sure we're making that decision thoughtfully and inclusively. And we've already done a lot of work to make sure that citizens and staff alike feel like they are having a voice and input in the process of selecting a new town manager. I think another big priority is going to be the comprehensive plan process that's starting this year, which is sort of our greatest opportunity to exercise, I think, a little imagination and far-reaching vision for the town, for a 10-year plan, what we want to see in terms of infrastructure, what do we want to invest in, what do we think about our growth areas. So I think those take up a lot of time, but also one issue that keeps coming up is the budget. The common refrain is people want a lot of services, but increasingly tighter financial basis. And our job is to figure out how to balance that thing and also make sure people feel like they're getting what they want. And I'm seeing my time is up, so I will yield.
I think that's a classic example of asking you to answer in 1 minute, which probably should take 20 minutes. But thank you for sticking with the time. Matthew, would you give your response? And again, do you have any specific issues or priorities for the town council if you're elected?
Yeah, I am particularly excited about expanding the Parks and Rec. I would like to see some of the historical things that have been done at Parks and Rec revitalized as much as we can. And I'm also very excited about the Route 2 corridor, which there we have a chance of maybe leveraging money to get quite a substantial amount from the federal government to improve Main Street. And yeah, I'm going to put all my cards on the table. This is partly selfish of mine, but I would really like to see Main Street, be as beautiful, as attractive, and also as pedestrian friendly as it possibly can. And so I'm excited about those opportunities. I'd like to see more crosswalks on Main Street. There isn't a crosswalk between Kelly until you get to Westwood. And so there's a lot of neighborhoods that are cut off with Main Street traffic being the way it is. And I'd like to see speed tables improved there. So those are some of the things that I'm excited about, but I particularly love the way the council has been going in developing community, and that has been so meaningful to me, and I would love to continue that. So yeah, those are my priorities.
Thank you, Matthew. Scott, again, do you have any specific issues or priorities for the town council if elected?
I don't come to the council with a specific agenda, but I obviously realize that the selection of the right person for town manager is very important. I think as Rob said, the comprehensive plan is coming up. It's on its 10-year cycle, and I was involved a couple other times with that, and I hope that I can help with that. It's a tremendous roadmap for the planning board to use while trying to determine whether development's appropriate in certain areas. And it's also important for people who are interested in developing or bringing in some maybe affordable single family housing type construction. It's important for them to know where they're welcome to build without incurring huge expenses and then only possibly being denied. I think that to that end, I think we should consider as a council either eliminating building permit fees or maybe defer the fees and sewer connection fees. It can amount to as much as $10,000 for the construction of a single family home. And if we perhaps assess that fee over a period of years or something specifically to that property might be a good thing to do. But a comprehensive plan, town manager are my priorities.
Thank you, Scott. And Jacob, you're at the last shot at specific issues or priorities that you might have for the council.
Yeah, this is where going last makes it easier, because I can just say ditto. But no, town manager, #1 priority. Second priority then is budget, and that ties into the strategic plan. Because as part of the strategic plan, we as a town will figure out, determine what our priorities are for the next 5 to 10 years, and from there, we can help to develop a budget that reflects who we want to be as a town. And that includes, both programs we want to, focus on, and areas perhaps, we need to cut back on. But then also on the revenue side of the budget, how can we, increase our tax base? How can we, spur responsible development in of course the areas that we wanted. So I think it's great that the strategic plan has started and really will make the budgeting process, at least for this year, that much easier.
Thank you, Jacob. So just so that it's when I appear to be looking at my phone or checking YouTube, I'm not really doing that. I'm looking at a timer or some questions that are being submitted. So forgive me if it looks like that I'm doing something other than paying close attention. The next question, so we will start this time with Matthew. And Matthew, the question is, what is your vision for economic growth for Orono?
I think one of our biggest issues right now is lack of housing. And it makes it difficult for businesses to, when they look around, it's hard to get people to come here if there isn't housing. So I do think that we have to, as a council, be very serious about about development here in town and also determine how we might be able to make affordable houses, houses, starter houses, and things of that nature. That's just one small piece of the economic development, but I think it's a critical one to be able to attract people here to work and to allow for businesses to come in and say, look, come here, be here with us. So I think that that's something that we have to tackle, even if it's not necessarily for businesses. It'll be helpful for the town, and it's just something we have to work together with the rest of the town also, and listen to how we can make this appropriate. Thanks.
Thank you, Matthew. Scott, your vision for economic growth.
Yes, well, as many of you know, we don't have sewer or water on the western side of Interstate 95. And it's been looked at several times, but it's very, very expensive to extend those services to that side of town. That said, there is a tract of land off Kelly Road, off near where the Boy Scout building is, and up behind the medical center that extends down to the land trust land, that might be a possibility for some development fairly close to downtown. But I think we really need to do something to get some single family type housing in town to bolster the population in the school so that we can continue to offer all the great services that we want to offer to the students in a cost-effective manner. So yeah, I think development would be important for us in the future. But the comprehensive plan needs to identify where, so people, as I said, don't meet a roadblock 3/4 of the way into the process.
Thank you, Scott. Jacob, your economic vision for growth.
Yeah, Scott's right. Orono has a lot of undeveloped office parks and tracks. And I'm not suggesting, we develop them all, because one of the things that we all love about Orono is its nature and, its rural area. So I think it's a combination of making it easier to do business in town. Looking at some of our zoning, some of our fees we charge. When Habitat built the house in Orono, I know that there were some challenges that we encountered that I think can be smoothed over. But then also, in addition to those items, lean into our partnership with the university. The university is an incredible asset that is bringing people together from all over the world. So how can we get some of those companies, bring some of those companies into Orono? I think, what Tyler Technology is doing, and I love the hotel, but, putting in that office building to bring in, to give students a place to, work after graduation, and is an incredible boon for the town. So just, continuing to lean into those partnerships.
Thank you, Jacob. So then, Rob, please.
Yeah, so I think everybody kind of nailed it on the head there. I mean, economic growth comes with increasing the tax base, thinking about where we can develop. I think Scott identified an area of Kelly Road that makes a lot of sense. There's also the sort of Old Town facing side of the Route 2 corridor that I think probably, I think our last comprehensive plan identified that as a growth area. And we've got to engage with that as we do the comprehensive plan process, of course. But also, I think Jacob was right to bring up the university. It is an asset. The more we can sort of partner with them to think about this issue, the better. As we're bringing more students in, also, we're going to need more housing for them too. I actually for a few years when I was a student at the University of Maine. I was unhoused, and I was not alone. That's sort of a population a lot of people in this town, a lot of them aren't aware of. And so increasing affordable housing is sort of tied right up with increasing our economic tax base. These things, I think, need to be thought of together. But I wouldn't pretend to have all the answers. I'm sure none of us here would. But I'm looking forward to hopefully figuring out some ways to help on that in that regard.
Thank you, Rob. Next I'll go to Scott. I'm going to take a question that came in from the audience. And it's a kind of a version on, probably combine it with something that I was thinking of as a question. So what would be your intent in terms of controlling spending on items, given the certain items, given there's a balance in town between, there's a wide divergence on what everybody sees as priorities spending wise, which may be taken together with my question of what would be, is there an item that you think the town spends too much money on now that needs to be controlled? Maybe you
Too
don't.
much money. Well,
But it goes back to controlling spending, I guess.
yeah,
How do we achieve that?
that's why we're going to find a fantastic town manager who knows how to put a budget together and find ways and find areas that we can save on, maybe get together with other communities and do some buying together and combine some services perhaps. I've always thought we're so close to Old Town and we have so much in common. We both operate a huge police department, a huge fire department. We provide the same services on the streets and all of that. And I've always thought that some of these other communities in the country who are more county oriented kind of have the right idea. They don't reinvent the wheel from town to town. So perhaps there are some ways we could join together with some other communities to provide services. But that's what we need, a strong town manager for, and to identify those possibilities for us and make our tax dollars work the best they can.
Thanks, Scott. So Jacob, do your best, please, to respond to the question that I convoluted, if you would.
Yeah, no, certainly. So I think this is a classic, we don't know what we don't know. And by that, I mean, I think we will learn a lot through the strategic planning process of the town's priorities and what we want to see and where we want to go. We may find that there are, programs or issues that, were important 10 years ago that aren't anymore. So, that'll provide a cost savings. The other piece of it is kind of somewhat related to what Scott said, is that you have essentially two large entities that operate right across the river from each other in the town of Orono and the university. And there are a lot of duplicated systems and processes and services that both of these entities provide. Some of them are for legitimate reasons, but others are not. So how can we better collaborate? How can we better work with the university to share some of the cost burden of operating a town and an institution?
Thank you, Jacob. Rob?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. And again, I'm not sure anybody could really solve this easily. I mean, one of the problems I think that we're facing is that we're at the end of several years of increased municipal revenue sharing. and our budget sort of increased right alongside that. And this past budget process, I think, was a tough one as we were trying to really get down to the data around what the trends are, where we're going, how we can sort of try to hold things back from getting a little. I mean, I'm not trying to say that we don't have, I think, really capable people who um, on staff and on council who are able to give this some real robust thought. I think university certainly potential partner in trying to figure out where services are not being duplicated or redundant. And I think the other towns also around us, especially Old Town, there's probably room for collaboration there. But as far as things to cut, it's unclear. People love, I think, the services that they're provided. And I think a lot of people I talk to, I mean, we do have high taxes, but people also really appreciate all of the things that they're getting for them. And I think most people are willing to pay as long as they see that there's value there. But they can't increase forever, and we've got to figure this out. And I'm glad to say that at least we've got more data than ever before, thanks to some of our fellow counselors who really pushed for this and have been very thoughtful about it. But we'll see.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Matthew?
Yeah, I really appreciate, I was not on council last budget season, but I really appreciate that that was one of the first years. I think it was the first year in 10 years that the budget didn't increase. And so they had to make some really hard choices last year, and it was not always popular. I think as we move forward, we may have to continue to just hold the budget where it is as much as possible, and continue to make some of these unpopular choices at times. And on the flip side too, if we make a mistake and we cut something or we don't fund something that we should turn around with humility the next year and just say that was not a good idea and we need to move forward with this. So I really appreciate that. And I think one thing we're going to be facing a little bit in the future here is what are we going to do with all of the town infrastructure in terms of building? Are we going to upkeep it? Are we going to how are we going to deal with this? Because there are serious issues with some of the town buildings in terms of their structure, having them kept to code. We even have the old maintenance building and the property there that really is not being used, and maybe we could get some saving by moving that particular property along. But we need to be in talks and collaboration with the community, because those towns are those buildings like Keith Anderson, the Boy Scout building, those things are super valuable to people, and sometimes it's more, once you get rid of them you can't get it back. So we have to think historically and towards the future with those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. So next we'll go back to Jacob to start on this question, and it's sort of expanding on the other question and some of the things that Matthew was alluding to there. With as that budget season approaches, what would you consider to be top 1, 2, or 3 fiscal priorities for the town in the coming year?
I think the first priority would be sustainability. Our budget has been enhanced over the past several years through state sharing, through ARPA funds, and that is diminishing and drying up, and we can no longer rely on that. So getting our budget back to a place where, as you know, Matt said, we're not increasing it every year, I think is really important, because one of the challenges that Orono faces and will continue to face is a stagnant, if not decreasing, population. I think with enrollment at the university declining, and I'm not suggesting, you know, the university is going away, but I think our new reality is going to be, how else can we, you know, bring development, bring revenues into this town so that, we can continue to provide the phenomenal services that, we all enjoy and we all love about this town, without just, simple property taxes. That's not a sustainable way to, continue growing our services and providing what we all love and enjoy.
Thank you, Jacob. Rob, your top few fiscal priorities for the town this budget season.
Yeah, I mean, I think trying to stem the growth where we can, as we're continuing to, as I was saying in my last response, understand what trends we're dealing with and try to understand a little bit more about the causes and how to respond. I think also probably this year figuring out how we might leverage our remaining ARPA funds, because I mean the timeline is ticking on that as well anyway. So we figure out how we can responsibly use that to invest where we can. But I think those are the two big things, really. We want to make sure that we're supporting our staff, making sure that they have what they need, and that's a lot of what the budget's about too. So being responsive to, I think, what staff says they need, while also trying to figure out sort of what the community at large feels is worth investing in, and what they think are the focuses as we make some of these tough decisions.
Thank you, Rob. Matthew, your top three priorities are one or two even.
Well, I would say one, we need to dig deep into the comprehensive plan so we have a guiding light as to what is going to be important to this community and help guide, where we and where they want to spend the money. But one of my priorities is to see if we can get that Route 2 corridor issue resolved, and so that we can improve both. It's not just the road itself, but it's also that gives us a chance to update the sewer underneath it, which is expensive, but it needs to be done. And so those are a priority for me. And so I think and then also we need to be taking a look at some issues with the fire department building to make sure that it's safe if there's a storm. So those are things that we're going to have to really dig deep and think about how we'll fund those.
Thank you. Scott.
Well, when so much of our budget, a municipal budget, is based upon employed people, it's very, very difficult to make cuts beyond a certain point, because you're looking at cutting people at some point, and that's very difficult and not very easily done. So it's and the cost associated with employing people just results in increases that you cannot control, such as health insurance, workers' comp. People expect raises. So, and then if you look at trying to increase tax base, that's very difficult. Orono has a reputation of being a not in my backyard, strongly organized community. So developers are leery of trying to do much in Orono because of past experiences. So and frankly, we don't have a lot of land that's suitable for development, especially commercial development. It would be nice if somewhere in the town we could identify some land that would be suitable for that. And that's what we need to do in the comprehensive plan, if it exists. But it's very difficult to see anything in the future for Orono except increased taxes, especially when it's almost inevitable that our revenue sharing from the state is going to decrease rapidly in the next few years. So I am not optimistic about tax rates in Orono. I think we're going to see increases, unfortunately.
Mr. Scott, Jacob, I believe I had started with you, right, on that question? Yeah, so I think given our time, I'm going to certainly if somebody from the audience has a question, be sure to send it in. But otherwise, this may be our last one if we're going to stay in our time frame. You all alluded to an important thing that's coming up, and that being our new town manager. And so I'd like to have your thoughts on how you see, and maybe it's changing with a new town manager, maybe not, but what the interplay should be between the council and town manager as you handle all these issues that we've been discussing tonight. Rob, if you would start with that.
Sure, do my best. So whoever ends up in that position as our new town manager, I think we're going to want, obviously, to have a good working relationship between the council and staff. The town manager is the conduit between the priorities the council sets and the staff who does the work. And I think that person has to be, flexible, compassionate, good listener, and able to hold a lot of these views at once and mediate between a lot of different perspectives that are all sort of legitimate and important. I'm optimistic that in this process, we're going to be able to find somebody who can help people in community be heard and sort of share the vision that I think council is aiming at right now, which is more community collaboration, more community insight being taken seriously at the meetings, trying to encourage and incentivize people to get involved in the process and share their voices because we're stronger together. And the town manager is, the town council chair is our sort of de facto head of government. The town manager really is our sort of most important asset. And I'm excited to be part of a process where we're going to do the best we can to find the right fit. But I guess I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Rob. Matthew?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reaching out to the candidates as they come in and seeing how they are. I think that we're going to need somebody who is a fantastic people manager and is able to be emotionally intelligent and be able to bridge that gap with the staff and with the council, and it's totally doable. And I think we're going to be a very, very strong government together. And I have no doubts that Orono is in a wonderful place to be. The quality of life is sky high, and so I have all expectation in the world that we can find an amazing town manager who can do that delicate tightrope balance of listening to council, being able to provide everything that their staff needs, and also have their ear to the ground with what the community needs, and is able to balance the difference between what our community needs and what they want, and be able to work strongly with the council as the council is there to set priorities and move forward. So I'm excited.
Thank you. Scott, your thoughts on what the interaction should be between council and the new town manager?
Well, I don't think the new town manager is going to be wondering what the council's thinking. This is a very capable, community-involved council. They have their thumb right on the heartbeat of this community, and they have some exciting ideas. They have lots of energy, And I think that it's going to be a bit of a challenge for our new manager, because this person will be learning the town, learning the area, learning the state, the council we have is so capable, they are going to keep this manager very busy. And I'm looking forward to it. I think that it'll be an exciting time for Orono, and I think people will feel really involved in the community. So it's good.
Thank you, Scott. And Jacob, you know, the last word on that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in my opening statement, I, did work in state government, and, at once had dreams of being a town manager. But then, as I learned more about, the role, I quickly realized what a gargantuan task that was, because your job is to operationalize what the city council is prioritizing. And the city council, ultimately answers to the citizens. So as the city manager, you are tasked with essentially being a subordinate to a city council who may not be familiar with the ins and outs of day-to-day operations in the government, but that's your job. So your question was, what should the relationship be? It's got to be collaborative, it's got to be cordial, it's got to be two ways. Our next town manager needs to be able to take the vision of the town and again operationalize it, and the city council also needs to work with the town manager as to what is actually possible, what are the limitations of town government, and what we can actually do. So it's a very collaborative relationship that I think both the council and the next town manager will be well prepared for.
Thank you, Jacob. So that, given the time, I think that ends the Q&A portion of our meeting tonight. And now would move to that opportunity for the candidates to take a minute and give us their closing thoughts as we approach this election. And we'll start with Matthew.
I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the new town manager that's coming in. I'm excited about all of the wonderful people who live here in Orono and have incredible ideas. And I'm excited that we're working on vehicles to put those ideas into action. And so I would like to continue and the town council, because it's an exciting time, and I appreciate this town so much. And I've lived in the Southwest and the South and the Midwest and the West, and I will take Orono over any of those any day. And I love it here. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Scott.
Well, I'm running strictly to serve, and I have absolutely no personal agenda. I think the present council is overflowing with highly capable leaders that are just full of energy. If you elect me, I'll continue to the course of stable leadership and inclusive, transparent, collaborative, community-grounded leadership. I've previously served on the school committee and the town council when a superintendent was chosen and when a town manager was chosen. I have the experience required to analyze and solve problems, all while listening to the residents' dreams of what Orono can be. along with the present council, I can do the job effectively on day one. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Jacob.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for this time. I echo what, both Matt and Scott said in that I am doing this because I want to serve my community. I think there is a lot of challenges coming our way, but also we have a lot to be optimistic about. Like Matt said, I choose Orono over, every other place I've lived, because of, everything we've talked about tonight. So, if I'm elected to the city council, I promise to, to listen, to collaborate, and to always do what's in the best interest of the community as a whole, not just, myself or a, group of people. It's ultimately about what's involved, what's best for the community as a whole. So I appreciate your consideration. And I have a Facebook page if anybody wants to, check out my views on other items. And thank you for your support.
Thank you, Jacob. Robert?
So I have been really grateful to serve the last 2 years on the Orono Town Council. And I do hope that I'm elected again to serve another 3 years. But I believe that whoever the citizens choose, they'll do a great job. This is a great group of people here, I think. Really nice. The first time I've met Scott, but he's been nothing but wonderful, and really appreciate the views of everybody here. For myself, I do think I bring years of policy experience at the state and now municipal level. And I believe I have the conscience and the skills to represent the interests of Orono and make sound, compassionate decisions as best I can. If elected, I'll do my best to be an accessible, accountable, and reasonable voice for what I believe is right. And I'll do my best to listen to my fellow counselors, to people in the community, to staff, and I'll serve the best I can. And if anybody watching right now sees me on the street, because I walk everywhere or bike everywhere, come talk to me. Let me know what you care about, what you want to see from council, and just hope everybody has a good night.
Thank you, Rob. So, and then again, thank you all for participating in our annual candidates night. As you can see, we do have a great pool of candidates looking to serve our community, and it's heartening to see this level of participation in our local government. It's not easy to serve in these roles, to take time out of what everybody has as busy lives that they're already leading, and then commit what ends up being a tremendous amount of time to make this community a better place to live. Good luck to you, and remember that if you do put your signs up announcing your candidacy, state law requires that you put your name and contact information on those signs. Democracy only works with participation, and that starts with voting, but it doesn't end with voting. And so, as Rob alluded to, you vote and then you continue to participate, not just complain, but participate. And so if there's things that you want to change or have different or be implemented, you have to bring those to the people that are making those decisions. And so I encourage everybody in the community to do that in a respectful way, so that things that are important to this town come about and happen. And so in that regard, please don't forget to vote. There's no reason not to. There's lots of options. Election day is March 5th, with the polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the council chamber. And absentee ballots are available now. So you can check out the town website at www.orono.org for more information about how to get your absentee ballot or register to vote. Tonight's meeting video will be posted on the town's YouTube channel tomorrow, beginning tomorrow, for those who couldn't attend or watch the live stream. Along with the link to the video, voters can also find bios or statements provided by the candidates posted on the town's website. Thanks again. Appreciate everybody's participation. Enjoyed it as always. Have a good evening, and we'll see everybody out on the streets. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, Dave,
Thanks, David.
good luck, everyone.